Got my friend Evan here today, and he's a pretty wise dude, so I figured we would share our experiences of veganism. You said you were vegan for a few years total.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you first do it? Like, what was your first?
My story is I moved to California when I was 18 and smoked weed for the first time and just started waking up, and I started surfing, and
So you like woke up consciously?
yeah, I started waking up consciously. Essentially what it is, I traveled after high school and I began to just see how big the world was and how my worldview essentially was not only limited but limiting my experience.
Yeah.
So I moved to California and I just decided to begin to feel into life in a way that seemed natural to who I was and what intuitively felt right to me versus a way of being that I was taught. So I started to I started smoking weed, and I started doing yoga, and I tore all the brands off my clothes, and I tried to spend time at the beach, and I started to find out about organic versus conventional food. And then from that point I just really intuitively started gravitating towards living a more natural lifestyle, in harmony not only with my environment but what I felt like was with myself, and I was eating a plant-based diet. So yeah, for about a year and a half to 2 years I was vegan. And
Did you at one point think like, this is the most natural diet for humans, and this is the way it's been for a long time? Because there's a lot of preaching and dogma out there that this is the human diet.
for
Did
sure.
you believe that?
Yeah, there's a point.
Yeah.
There's a point at which I thought it was the way.
Yeah.
Because after you have this little scope of this little paradigm in general, as soon as you're opened up to a new way of being that suits you,
Yeah.
again, the conscious ego mind, the rational mind is like, ooh, that's the way. And these other ways are wrong. So it's like you open your mind to a new religion or a new type of faith, and then immediately that's the answer. Now these other things are wrong. So I think that there's periods of thinking that this was exclusively the best way to eat, and that didn't include other ways of eating as well.
And this is how our consciousness works, right? It's like when we get some belief in our head, we literally won't see things in life that doesn't align with that belief system. So our consciousness is always filtering things out, right? So like right when you get a new car or something, you start to see those cars on the road. They were there before, but your consciousness was filtering them out, because you can't take in everything all the time or you'd go insane.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get into a belief system, sometimes we won't see a sick vegan on the road because it doesn't align with our belief system.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to add that in there. So you went about a year and a half to 2 years?
Yeah. I think that was actually, that lifestyle was just a gateway to expanding myself, evolving and expanding my consciousness. And that wasn't the end all be all. Veganism was a seasonal means to an end, and I've had another year of that in my life. And there were seasons where, again, intuitively I felt that I needed to do everything I could in my immediate world to give myself every leg up in making amends with parts of myself and healing parts of myself, and kind of traveling through my own darkness and facing the reality and truth of the world that I was in. And there was something very powerful about partnering with different plant medicines and using in conjunction yoga and meditation and other physical and mental, emotional, spiritual practices that helped move me through it, to which I feel that in my experience veganism has been very helpful in. But definitely not the way for, I can't say that that's the best diet for anyone, you know?
Yeah, I think it's good to do seasons of that as well. And I went through a period of about 1.5 years where I was pretty much raw, and really it was a period for me to connect to my higher self. But so what it does is it really puts your energy higher in your chakras, and you start to connect to spirit, essentially. But like for me, I would do that in a season to really look at my life and reflect and get like a different life path. But eventually, I think it's important to bring it back down, grounded to earth, so you can take action in life. And what I see, like when I went to Chiang Mai, Thailand, and spent like 5 months with a bunch of other vegans, is a lot of them were really like emancipated, like emaciated. Yeah, they didn't have much muscle tone, and it's almost like their bodies were flying away, and they were like losing their mind in a way, because you know, you do need animal fats and animal protein. Most people, you know, eventually. So I just want to put the message out there that don't get too carried away with it, and don't get it in your belief system so strongly that your body starts to eat itself. And you know, your body will eat its own muscle tissue and brains and organs if it doesn't get what it needs.
Absolutely. And you know, all food is essentially a means to an end, and we need to be conscious about what kind of food we're consuming and what its purpose is. Because essentially when we're taking in any food, any kind of substance from the outside world, that is essentially, it's being assimilated into the energy upon which we create and act and move and have our being in the physical world. So it's important that we're eating the food that is actually going to support the kind of life that we're creating.
Exactly. Like eating in a way to live your life to serve in the best way is kind of how I feel about it.
Absolutely.
Like, how do you want to live in the world? You know?
Yeah, and you can't. We can't have. You have to support your mind, body, and spirit totality to move and be and serve in the world. And if you're eating food and consuming anything from the outside world, rather, that is going to inhibit your body, prohibit your body from doing it, then there's no point in being a vegan. You know, there's no point in having a certain diet. There's no point in doing something if essentially you're just limiting yourself in that behavior.
And I see it like this too. It's like you are what you eat, and when you only eat plants, sometimes you start to become a plant, right? You'll want to go sit out in nature in the sunshine and sun gaze and meditate, and that really doesn't solve any of the world's problems. And you start eating like I've went to every extreme you can think of, and I've noticed like the really like the heavy animal products like pig and cow and bison and stuff. They make you like an animal to where you're like and like moving around and very like manly and just more in your body. So it's really interesting just to play with it and like go to these different extremes, but just don't get stuck on these, you know?
I think that's critical right there, is not taking yourself so seriously and realizing that all of this is an experiment, to the extent that there is a season for everything, and there are pros and cons to everything, and it really is doing what is right for you in that time and space that you're in. So, like, I've had a season of eating a lot of animal products, and that was the thing I needed, as in...
How did you feel at that time?
I definitely felt far more grounded. Life and my experience through it is a little bit, I don't want to say sludgier in a bad way, but slower, a slower experience. I felt that, like, to me, it feels really good in my body. Like, my body absorbs that energy really well and really easy, and there's not like, oh, I just ate, now I'm up here, and now I'm back down here, or, oh, I just ate, and I'm down here, and now I'm trying to get back up here.
Yeah.
In a season of eating more animal products, I feel level.
Yeah.
Very consistent. But again, that's just a means to an end, as in, like, there's been seasons where you might be more active. You might have seasons where you're more sedentary. You might have seasons where you're more yin, more yang, you know? It's just about where you're at in your own evolution, whatever micro cycle you're in the experience of your life. So it's like, to me, there's no right or wrong way. Unless somebody's trying to tell me that I'm wrong, then that's where the issue lies. However, it's really about doing what you need to do to support your mission, you know, support your being, what you're doing here.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And I kind of intuitively eat with the seasons as well. Like if it's really cold, I'll need more hot foods, maybe a little more protein and fat. And then in like the spring and summer, I'll eat more fruits and vegetables.
For sure.
Yeah. Anything else to say?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it for now.